And Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will face off in their first presidential debate tomorrow night. It is predicted to be the most watched television event this year, aside from the Super Bowl. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon is finding out if the debate will impact decisions when it's time to head to the polls.
It's the two candidates interviewing for the job of being president.
Ben Warner has studied presidential debates for the past 15 years. He says presidential debates do make a difference, especially for undecided voters, and can rally supporters to head to the polls.
Most people have made up their minds about both candidates, but it's so close that the undecided voters will almost certainly determine who wins the election.
Trump and Harris are neck and neck in the polls, something that Warner says will make this debate all the more important.
I don't think this will influence my decision personally, but I think it will make me more excited to vote.
Hannah Wyrick is preparing to vote in her first presidential election. Even though she's made up her mind on who to vote for, she plans to watch the debate to learn more about the candidates, especially during a unique election cycle.
There's been so much change in the race, just seeing how both candidates are so different now that it's been a total swap throughout the summer, seeing the charisma, I guess, from both sides.
The debates give people confidence that they know enough about the election to participate meaningfully in politics. And that's because a lot of people aren't following the election day in and day out.
A poll of Missouri voters from St. Louis University and YouGov shows Trump has more than a 10% lead on Harris in Missouri. 5% of voters polled are undecided. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, First Alert 4.
And